Hello and welcome. It's February 22nd, 2026, and less than 3 hours ago, the laws of physics governing our universe didn't just bend, they shattered. Imagine a calm sky over the Pacific Ocean, right above the Midway Atoll at 14:02 UTC. NASA's Deep Space Network and the Subaru Telescope in Hawaii were tracking a comet, 3 Atlas, as a single, solid mass. But at exactly 14:03 UTC, everything changed. The data shifted instantly, and what they witnessed was unlike anything anyone had ever expected. The object didn't break apart or crumble under the pressure of thermal stress like comets do. Instead, 3 Atlas split cleanly into 2 equal halves, in what looked like an impossibly deliberate maneuver. Now, comets do break apart, that's not news. But here's what is: the way it moved. According to Newton's laws of motion, specifically the conservation of momentum, when an object splits, the fragments should drift apart slowly, following the original center of gravity. But that didn't happen. Fragment alpha accelerated eastward, heading straight for the U.S. West Coast, while fragment beta shot westward, targeting the Asian Pacific Rim. Now, let's pause here for a second. Imagine this. For a rock that weighs about 33 million tons, to push 2 massive halves in completely opposite directions at hypersonic speeds would release energy equivalent to a tactical nuclear detonation. Yet there was no explosion, no heat spike, no flash detected by any infrared sensors. It didn't add up. The U.S. Space Force's 18th Space Defense Squadron already confirmed these 2 halves as separate objects. They've cataloged them as distinct entities, SATID 889901 and SATID 889902. But here's the kicker: these fragments aren't tumbling. They're stable. They're moving purposefully. This shouldn't be possible. I've studied the chaos of celestial disintegration for years, and in that chaos, nothing moves with this kind of precision. This isn't random. This is geometry. This is a divergence maneuver. So, the question that every astrophysicist at NASA, JPL, and ESA is asking right now is, if the natural laws of physics didn't cause this, then what did? Let's dig deeper into the data. Up until this morning, 3 Atlas was classified as a hyperbolic comet just like Oumuamua. We first detected it in late 2025, and up until today, it was following a normal path. But then, at 13:58 UTC on February 14th, the object's thermal signature spiked. The KK Observatory on Mount Aya in Japan noticed a surge in luminosity, not from the sun's reflection on ice, but from the object itself. The brightness jumped by a factor of 4.5 inches under 12 seconds. When comets heat up, they vent gas. But that's messy. This wasn't messy. This was clean, like a signal. The data didn't lie. This wasn't an anomaly. It was confirmed by 3 independent sources. First, NASA's Goldstone Solar System radar pinged the object at 14:02 UTC, and instead of a cloud of debris, they found 2 solid metallic echoes separating at high velocity. Second, the European Space Agency's ESA ground station in New Norcia, Australia, verified the split. Their astrometric data matched NASA's exactly. Third, the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency, JAXA, cross-referenced the trajectory, confirming the split. 3 independent sources, using different methods, all came to the same conclusion. But it gets even stranger. When a comet breaks up, we expect to see the usual debris dust, silicates, organic material. But what the Subaru telescope found in the space between the 2 fragments was not dust. It was ionized gas, specifically excited states of xenon. Xenon doesn't just appear out of nowhere in a vacuum between 2 splitting objects. In aerospace, we use ionized xenon for one thing: ion propulsion. A bulletin from the Center for Astrophysics noted that the spectral signature of 3 Atlas resembled the exhaust plume of a Hall-effect thruster, but scaled up 10,000 times bigger than anything we've ever built. Let that sink in for a moment. What does this mean? 3 Atlas entered our solar system silently, and then, directly over the Pacific Ocean, it executed a high-energy separation maneuver that left behind a propulsion chemical signature. This isn't a natural event. This is a maneuver. We are seeing the kind of precision we'd expect from advanced technology, not a chaotic space rock. As we continue to track the fragments, something else becomes clear. They are not just drifting apart, they're aiming. Right now, the data suggests that these fragments aren't randomly flying away from each other. They are converging on specific coordinates, and the precision of their movements is nothing short of astonishing. And this is just the beginning. Stay with us as we uncover what's really happening with 3 Atlas, and why every hour that passes raises more questions than answers. Now, let's take a closer look at the physics behind this. When you calculate the energy required to push 2 massive rock fragments in opposite directions at such high speeds, it doesn't add up. In the laws of physics, we have something called the conservation of energy. You cannot just create motion out of nothing. So how do we explain this? To break it down, the kinetic energy needed to accelerate these 2 fragments, both of which are massive, around 33 million tons, at the speed they're traveling is equal to around 3 times 10 to the power of 17 joules. That's an unfathomable amount of energy. To put this in perspective, this is the same energy released by the largest nuclear weapon ever detonated, the Tsar Bomba, but instead of blowing up, this energy seems to have been used to move the fragments in opposite directions with zero thermal release. Now, think about this. If a huge explosion happened inside 3 Atlas, we would see a massive release of heat, followed by a cloud of debris, but that's not what happened. The data shows that these fragments remained intact, no vaporization, no explosion. According to the Spitzer Space Telescope, both fragments, alpha and beta, are still at a temperature of about -140 degrees Celsius. So, how do you generate the force of a nuclear bomb without generating any heat? This breaks all the laws of thermodynamics as we know them. It suggests a form of energy conversion we can't explain, a form of propulsion that's almost 100% efficient. No known technology on Earth can achieve this kind of energy transfer. There's no theoretical framework that supports it. But there's something even more curious going on. On February 14th, just after the split, something flagged a new anomaly. The Pan-STARRS Observatory in Hawaii detected that fragment alpha, the one heading toward the U.S. West Coast, wasn't just coasting, it was accelerating. This was no longer a case of inertia taking over. Fragment alpha was gaining speed, and not just a little. It was accelerating at a rate of 1.2 meters per second squared. Now, for those who aren't familiar with orbital mechanics, that's huge. A non-gravitational acceleration like this means that something is pushing this fragment continuously against all odds. Astronomers at Caltech quickly ruled out the possibility of outgassing. There's no visible tail, no jets of gas. Yet, somehow, this fragment is speeding up and its course is being corrected. A rock, in the vacuum of space, doesn't just decide to accelerate on its own. Gravity doesn't work like that. If you're a comet tumbling through space, you follow the laws of inertia. You don't speed up and change direction unless something is controlling you. So, let's take a moment to review. We have an object, 3 Atlas, which split cleanly into 2 fragments. These 2 fragments immediately began to accelerate in opposite directions. They didn't follow the usual pattern of a random breakup. Instead, they acted with precise control and intelligence. Something is pushing them, but that something is not outgassing, and it's not a natural process. It's deliberate. And then the plot thickens. At 15:30 UTC on February 14th, the trajectory analysis from the Pan-STARRS Observatory flagged yet another unexpected anomaly. This wasn't predicted, and it wasn't in the models, but it changed everything. The data suggested that the two fragments, alpha and beta, weren't just drifting away from each other. They were heading towards specific targets on Earth. Fragment alpha, which is heading towards the U.S. West Coast, is now on a re-entry vector that places it precisely over 34.05 degrees north, 118.24 degrees west, right over Los Angeles. Fragment beta, heading toward the Asian Pacific Rim, is locked on a re-entry vector of 35.67 degrees north, 139.65 degrees east, right over Tokyo. I want you to think about the odds of this. These two fragments are heading toward two of the most populous, technologically advanced cities in the world. To put this in perspective, the probability of this happening naturally, through random chance, is 1 in 800 billion. The fragments should have scattered randomly across the ocean, or perhaps moved into deep space, but no. These two fragments are locking onto two of the most strategic locations on Earth. This is not a coincidence. This is deliberate, and the implications are staggering. The moment these two fragments targeted Los Angeles and Tokyo, something inside the scientific community shifted. It's as if the rules of celestial mechanics have been rewritten, and it's not just scientists at NASA and ESA who are concerned. According to unconfirmed reports, the Pentagon has raised the DEFCON status for Space Command in response to these developments. This is unprecedented in the history of space exploration. It's a sign that whatever is happening, it's far beyond the realm of natural cosmic events. But there's one more layer to this mystery. At 17 UTC, the All-Telescope Array picked up something chilling, a coherent radio burst. This signal wasn't coming from deep space, it was coming from the fragments themselves. The two pieces, alpha and beta, are communicating. The signal is encrypted, and it's pulsing back and forth between the two fragments at exactly 1.42 gigahertz, which is the hydrogen line frequency. What does that mean? The hydrogen line frequency is incredibly significant. It's the same frequency we use to communicate with extraterrestrial civilizations, and it's also the frequency we would use if we wanted to communicate over vast distances. The fact that these fragments are emitting a signal at this exact frequency isn't just strange, it's terrifying. This isn't just an anomaly, it's a message. So, we are left with three possibilities. The first, this is a natural phenomenon, and we have completely misunderstood the laws of physics. The second, this is a test from a foreign adversary, a new form of space warfare. The third, and the most chilling, is that this is an external intelligence, using the two fragments as a weapon. They have the ability to target cities on Earth with devastating precision. And we're not just observing it anymore. We are participants in whatever is about to happen next. The reality of the situation has shifted from scientific curiosity to global concern. The fragments, alpha and beta, are now on a path that, quite frankly, defies explanation. Let's dive deeper into the situation unfolding right now. At this moment, we have two separate objects, each the size of a small city, accelerating towards two of the most densely populated and technologically advanced regions on Earth. Los Angeles and Tokyo are now the target of what seems to be a guided cosmic event. This is not random. This is not a freak accident. These fragments are on a direct course for impact. And whatever is guiding them, whatever intelligence is behind this, has one thing in mind: precision. If this were a natural occurrence, these fragments should be scattering across the ocean or drifting aimlessly in space. But they aren't. The data we're receiving from NASA, ESA, and JAXA, three separate space agencies, all corroborate the same shocking facts. The trajectory calculations show that these fragments are accelerating towards Earth. More specifically, they are targeting two of the most critical points on Earth, Los Angeles and Tokyo. Now, think about the odds of that happening. According to the laws of physics, the chance of these fragments coincidentally targeting these cities is astronomical. In fact, it's 1 in 800 billion. And yet, here we are, staring at a scenario that's unprecedented. Something is manipulating these objects. Something is controlling their course with an accuracy that suggests a level of intelligence far beyond anything we've ever encountered. The question is, what is that intelligence, and why is it targeting us? But the oddities don't stop there. Let's talk about the signal. The radio burst that was detected at 17 UTC from the fragments wasn't just random noise. This wasn't just some flare-up of cosmic radiation. The signal was coherent. It was a pattern, a message, encoded with purpose. The signal was pulsing between the two fragments at exactly 1.42 gigahertzes, the hydrogen line frequency. Now this is crucial. The hydrogen line frequency is one of the most significant frequencies in the universe. It's the frequency at which hydrogen, the most common element in the cosmos, resonates. It's a frequency that's universally recognized as the prime candidate for interstellar communication. This is the frequency that SETI, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, monitors for signs of life. The fact that the two fragments are emitting a signal at this exact frequency is something no one can ignore. What does this mean? Well, in the context of everything we've observed so far, it's hard to escape the conclusion that this isn't just some natural celestial anomaly. This is far too precise, far too deliberate. The radio signal is not just noise. It's an attempt at communication, an encrypted message that is being broadcast from the fragments to some distant origin. We're not just dealing with objects in space. We're dealing with something far more complex, something intelligent. The implications are staggering. If this is an extraterrestrial intelligence, they have demonstrated not only the ability to manipulate physical objects on a cosmic scale, but also the technology to communicate with us across vast distances of space. And what's more chilling is that we are not just receiving a signal, we are receiving a warning. At this moment, scientists and world leaders are scrambling to understand what's happening. As we speak, the Pentagon has reportedly raised the DEFCON status for Space Command. This is a clear indication that the U.S. military is taking the threat seriously. For 50 years, near-Earth objects have been tracked and monitored. But never, in all that time, has there been a case where a comet has split in two, accelerated toward Earth, and emitted a coherent, encrypted radio signal all at the same time. This is uncharted territory. But the danger doesn't end with the fragments themselves. Let's talk about the environmental impact. As these fragments continue on their paths, the physical consequences of their proximity to Earth are becoming more evident. The two fragments are moving closer to the planet with each passing hour. Fragment Alpha, heading for Los Angeles, is due to cross the Kármán line, the boundary between Earth's atmosphere and outer space, in just 14 hours. This is the critical point at which the object would be entering Earth's atmosphere at supersonic speeds. Fragment Beta, targeting Tokyo, is following a similar path. If these objects maintain their current trajectories, we are looking at a potential kinetic impact that would release unimaginable energy. This is not just a threat of a comet crash. This is a threat of impact, the kind of event that could reshape our planet's future. While the specifics are still unclear, experts agree that if these fragments hit Earth, the consequences would be catastrophic. But what's even more terrifying is that these objects are not just random, they are being guided. As we track the fragments, one thing is clear: they are communicating. The encrypted data stream pulsing between them is evidence of that. This isn't just random motion, this is coordination, this is purpose. And the question we must all ask ourselves is simple. Why? What is the end game? What is the purpose of this message? And what happens when the signal reaches its final destination? We don't have all the answers yet, but we know one thing. This is not a drill. This is real. We are not passive observers anymore. We are participants in a high-stakes game with unknown players, and the clock is ticking. In less than 14 hours, one of these fragments will pass over Los Angeles. The other will approach Tokyo. Whatever happens next, humanity will be forever changed by the events unfolding above our heads. And we can only hope that we are ready for whatever message or danger comes next. The situation has now escalated to a level that's beyond anyone's expectations. Just hours ago, humanity was faced with the shocking reality that we are not merely spectators in this event. We are active participants in a cosmic spectacle that could alter the course of history. As I speak, the fragments, alpha and beta, are accelerating toward Earth with precision that defies all natural explanations. And now, the world is on high alert, with every available resource dedicated to understanding the full scope of the threat we face. But before we jump to conclusions, let's take a step back and ask the key question: what is the true nature of this event? We've already established that these fragments are not behaving like natural celestial objects. Fragment alpha, hurtling toward Los Angeles, and fragment beta, heading toward Tokyo, are not just randomly drifting through space. They are targeting specific locations with an uncanny level of accuracy. The odds of this happening naturally are so astronomically small, they're practically non-existent. Yet, here we are, watching as these objects move closer and closer to Earth. This isn't an ordinary cosmic event. This is something far more deliberate, something far more organized. The acceleration, the precise movements, the lack of outgassing or thermal signatures, all of these are indicators that what we're witnessing is not just a random occurrence. These fragments are being guided. But by who and why? What makes this situation even more unnerving is the lack of clarity regarding the origin of these objects. The theory that this is some sort of extraterrestrial intelligence is gaining traction, but that doesn't mean it's the only explanation. Could this be the work of a secretive human project? Could it be the result of an unknown technology we've yet to comprehend? It's hard to say, but one thing is certain: whoever or whatever is behind this, they are not leaving us with many answers. Let's revisit the data, because that's where things start to take a chilling turn. The signal that was detected between the two fragments at 17 UTC, the encrypted radio signal pulsing at exactly 1.42 gigahertz, the hydrogen line, this isn't just a coincidence. The hydrogen line frequency has been the focal point of interstellar communication efforts for decades. It's the frequency we search for when we look for signs of alien intelligence. And yet here we are, receiving this exact signal from two objects that have just split apart in a way that no natural force could explain. The fact that these two fragments are communicating in a manner that mirrors human-designed communication systems is unsettling enough, but the bigger question is what's being said. What information is encoded in these signals? What is the intention behind these bursts of data? Are we looking at a form of communication from a far-off civilization, or is this something entirely different? The urgency and secrecy surrounding this event suggest that the answers we're looking for are not as simple as they appear. As this situation progresses, we are left with more questions than answers. The fragments are not just tumbling through space, they are on course. They are targeting specific locations. And the fact that they're emitting a coherent signal suggests that this isn't some random occurrence. This is the manifestation of intelligence, deliberate, purposeful, and calculated. But as these objects continue to accelerate, so too does the world's response. The Pentagon's sudden elevation of the DEFCON status for Space Command has sent a clear message. We are no longer in a position to observe this event from a distance. We are now part of it. The fact that the United States military is taking this threat seriously signals that we are in uncharted territory. The idea that a comet or any object could behave in such a way has never been considered, let alone witnessed before. That's why this is so terrifying. We are dealing with a completely unprecedented event, one that demands immediate action and analysis from all corners of the globe. And then, there's the matter of the imminent impact. We've been tracking the fragments for hours, and the trajectory is undeniable. Fragment Alpha is heading for Los Angeles, and Fragment Beta is locked on a course for Tokyo. If these fragments continue on their current paths, we are looking at 2 possible impact zones in less than 14 hours. The idea that 2 massive objects, each capable of causing devastation on a scale we can't even begin to comprehend, could be heading straight for 2 of the most populous and technologically advanced cities on Earth is enough to make anyone's heart race. The magnitude of what we're facing has never been seen before. But what's even more unsettling is the precision of the entire event. The fact that these fragments are targeting specific locations means that whatever intelligence is behind this, they are not just acting randomly. They are planning, they are calculating, and they know exactly what they're doing. Now, let's revisit the physical properties of this event. We've talked about the impossible separation of the 2 fragments. We've talked about the complete lack of thermal signatures or outgassing. But what's even more mind-boggling is the fact that these objects are accelerating without any visible means of propulsion. Fragment Alpha, heading for Los Angeles, is picking up speed at an alarming rate. There are no visible jets, no trails of gas, no tail. It's not outgassing, it's simply accelerating. This isn't natural. The question is, how? How is this happening? The laws of physics, especially the conservation of momentum, tell us that an object in space can't just suddenly accelerate without some external force acting on it. Yet, here we are, witnessing 2 fragments that are moving with purpose, with intention. Whatever is guiding them is doing so with an intelligence that seems to defy our understanding of the universe, and we can't ignore the signal. That signal, which continues to pulse between the 2 fragments, is more than just a sign of communication, it's a sign of control. This isn't just a random radio burst, it's a targeted, deliberate message. It's something that suggests the presence of an advanced intelligence, one capable of manipulating the very fabric of space and time. The signal isn't just a form of communication, it's a form of dominion. In the next few hours, as the countdown continues, we will learn more. But as of now, one thing is certain. Humanity is no longer observing this event. We are now part of it. And the clock is ticking down. The world is watching, and all we can do is brace for what comes next. As the world watches and waits, the situation continues to evolve with every passing minute. The trajectory of the 2 fragments is becoming clearer, but the questions surrounding their purpose remain far more complex. We've seen the data, we've analyzed the anomalies, and now it's time to ask, what happens next? In just under 12 hours, Fragment Alpha will make its approach toward the United States West Coast, while Fragment Beta will head toward the Pacific region near Tokyo. The precision of their trajectories continues to be confirmed, and the idea that 2 separate objects, accelerating at non-gravitational speeds, are targeting 2 of the world's largest and most technologically advanced cities is nearly impossible to ignore. The odds of this happening randomly are far too low. Something is guiding them, something that possesses knowledge far beyond what we've previously known.